and then we'll get started. Father God, I thank you so much for this morning, God. I thank you that your mercies are new and they meet us in the morning. Father, I pray that you would be with us today as we meet as a community of people who just long to see Modesto be all that it can be. Father, thank you for those people who are going to be speaking today. God, I pray that your will would be done and that we would bring you honor and glory. Thanks again for just loving us and redeeming us and giving us purpose here, Father. In your holy name I pray. Amen. So, welcome to Catalyst. It's our monthly gathering made for leaders and influencers. We just want to thank you for all that you do and for being here with us. We have sign-up sheets on the table, so go ahead and fill those out. You fill those out so that we can be in contact with you guys and we can champion your cause as best as we can from our side. Today we have a pastor's lunch going on at noon. So go ahead and feel free to text your pastor right now and tell them that we want to invite them to lunch at Chevy's just to be able to have fellowship with other pastors and a good lunch. We want them to know that we appreciate all that they do here. Let's see, what else do we got? Love Our Schools. There's a flyer on your table. It's for Love Our Schools. Basically what's happening is that the student ratio to the student-teacher ratio is kind of getting a little crazy. So what we are asking for is that we would have mentors in the classroom and volunteers just to help out. That way teachers can do what they do best and teach students, and that students can get the most out of their classroom days. So all they're asking for is an hour out of your week. There's information on the website, and there's also a list of schools on the back. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and check out the website or ask Jeff for details. But if you feel called to do that, please sign up. Or if you don't feel like that's your particular calling, just hand the flyer off to somebody that you know who would be a good fit. I'd like to introduce to you Eric Young. He is a Modesto native, and he has this awesome app that he wants to share with you guys that is going to just really transform the world of nonprofit. So, hi, Eric.
Good morning. Transform the world, I like that, thank you. Hey, before I get started, I realized that as I was driving here this morning, I've been coming to Catalyst probably for about 18 months, and I've gotten to meet a lot of you here, and really, this project that we've been working on has been the impetus and the reason why I've been coming to Catalyst. And I know a lot of times we'd sit around these tables and, hey, Eric, what organization are you from? And I'd kind of stumble saying, we're working on this thing, and it was very nebulous. And but the reality is this time on Thursday mornings has really driven a lot of what our thoughts have been behind our project. So I just want to say to those of you who have put up with me, thank you. I really appreciate all the help and support that you guys have given. Even when you just nodded your head and be like, I have no clue what he's saying. Thank you, I appreciate that. Let me back up for the rest of you, because I know some of you are still looking at me going, I don't know what you're talking about. A couple years ago, a college roommate of mine came to me, and we started having this conversation about where do you go to, if I want to get involved in a nonprofit or find a way to volunteer, and I really want to check out an organization and really get to know them, where do I go? Where do I check on the internet? I just can't Google that. Like, what's the solution? And we really started looking around and trying to find an answer, and really found that we didn't see anything that really fit that problem. And we started talking to nonprofits. I spent a lot of time in Jeff's office, and again, we started saying, hey, there needs to be a better way for people to connect and really understand what's going on in their local community, as well as what's going on in the national landscape with nonprofits. And that really led us to the Gelper app. Now, Gelper is the mashup of the words giver, helper, Gelper. And you can love it or hate it, whatever, it's an easy way to remember it, giver, helper, Gelper. And really what we've decided and what the app's become is it's a mobile app for nonprofits who don't have their own mobile app. And a lot of people, when we talk to nonprofits, are like, oh, if only we could connect and have something on everyone's phone that they could pull up and see. and be connected to us. And we said, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. So that's really what we built. And I want to show you just a few features, and hopefully this is going to show up behind me. It's probably not turned on. There we go. All right. There we go. Okay, so this is a beta version of our app. This is actually a demo. We're going to be on the iTunes store in about 2 weeks. But essentially what we can do is when someone goes on to search, they can search either by zip code, local, they can go national, or look at international nonprofits. And they can sort or search by category, whether it's sex trafficking, hunger, homelessness, education, government, pretty much anything that is a benefit to the society, they're going to be able to search for. And every time that they find a nonprofit that they like, it will go on their dashboard. And as you'll see here, their dashboard is going to aggregate all social media feeds. So if a nonprofit is posting to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever it is, people aren't going to have to go searching on 5 or 6 social media channels. Everything is aggregated to one place. So if I'm on the Coalition for Adolescent Girls, I can check out their Facebook. Here's a link. I can share that link with my friends, email, whatever. I can also, if I'm looking just for information on the organization, I love demo versions, they're great. I can call them up, check out their website, email, address, here's a description, and then if I also want to go just to a main dedicated feed, so here's all of their social information in a timelined version. Okay? A couple of the cool features of the app is we have a calendar version, or a calendar feature, where you'll be able to see every event of all the nonprofits so, that you're following. So if a nonprofit puts up a volunteer day, golf outing, whatever it is, if you're following them, you're going to be able to see all those things in one place and even be able then to sign up for that and put that information onto your phone. We also have a donation tool. So you're at an event, or you're at a dinner, and instead of everyone saying, hey, pull out your checkbook, you can literally say, hey, everyone, pull out your Gelper app, and you can donate to the nonprofit directly from your app. Final feature that I'll show you today is we have a one-to-one model, kind of like Tom's Shoes, where if you buy the full version of the app, 50% of the proceeds, roughly $1, will go to your favorite nonprofit of choice. So for a nonprofit, you can sit there and say, hey, not only is this a great communication tool for us, but we can also use it as a crowdfunding source to help raise money. And for people like us that want to get involved, it's an easy way to raise money and tell our friends. So if you have a lot of nonprofit or Facebook followers, it's an easy way that you can go out and raise money as well as awareness at the same time. Andrew, let's switch over to the website really quickly. So a few benefits to nonprofits. 1, we streamline communication. 2, it increases awareness, volunteerism, donations. 3, and this is probably big, I'm a millennial, okay? I'm one of the older millennials. I know it's hard to believe. We're hard to get to hold of, right? A lot of people have a struggle of actually figuring out how to interact with us. And you know, the reality is this is how we interact. We're not really good at speaking in person, but if you want to text us, we can have a great conversation, right? It's unbelievable. Hopefully, this is a tool that helps you as nonprofits engage millennials, where people can actually look at this and say, I at least know where to go and how to get involved. Now, all nonprofits always ask me at this point, Eric, how much does this cost? It's free to nonprofits. Okay, it's a free service to nonprofits. What we need of you and what we really ask, oh, look at that good-looking guy. Oh, look at that. What we ask, a couple things. 1, we are going to be doing the beta version here in Modesto and Sacramento. We should be hitting the iTunes store in the next, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks. I would say 2 weeks. My developers would say 3. So 2 to 3 weeks. And the first thing we need is you as nonprofits. Like I said, we're doing our beta here. We need you nonprofits on board, and we'd like you to check it out. Jeff's going to be emailing everyone in Catalyst and Love Modesto here once the app goes live. So everyone in the community can download it and check it out. In the first month, it's going to be pretty much just to nonprofits to view, understand, and see how they can use it in their organization. So if you look up at the top right corner, you'll see the nonprofit sign up. You guys, if you're a nonprofit, we'd love to have you. You can do that today. You can actually go and sign up today, and here's a sign-up form. And really, all we need from you is it's kind of like a Facebook sign-up. But if you scroll down, down. There you go. Pretty much, we just need to know where you're posting information, and we walk you through that. So just tell us where you're posting. It'll take about 10 minutes, and then just go back to what you're doing. You know, if you're posting on Facebook and Twitter, just continue to do that. We'll collect it. We're not asking you to post to a new site. We're not asking you to post to someplace new. All we're doing is saying, tell us where you're putting stuff. We'll do the rest for you. And we'll send you some marketing materials that you can then send out to the people that are following you and say, hey, follow us here, and hey, help us, raise some funds here. That's really it. So again, if you're a nonprofit, please sign up as an organization. When you get an email from Jeff, please sign up as individuals, and then give us feedback. Again, this is a beta market. We love you guys. We respect you. We're thankful for the work that you guys do in the trenches, because you guys are the ones that are really transforming the communities, and we hope that we're a value add. And if we're not, tell us, because we would hate to then roll this out to a lot of other people that are like, yeah, this isn't working, right? So we want feedback from you. We appreciate the things that you guys are doing, and I'll be in the back over here afterwards. I'll have some cards and stuff. If you have any questions, if you want to play with the app or whatever, you can come back and see me over there. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate you, and have a good morning.
Okay, is that amazing? Or what? In our town, little Modesto, we're piloting this amazing service free for our 91 nonprofits that we know of that are doing amazing things in our town. And so, and Sacramento's going to get it as well, and who knows where it's going to go from there, but I don't care where it goes from there. I care about here and what it's going to do here, and how it's going to be a huge service to you all as you try to make even a bigger impact in our community. So thank you, Eric. Well, that was awesome. We've been talking for over 2 years about this. And how do we keep loving our town all year long, And, well, this is a really great way to start. Hey, at our tables, I want you to do this. I want you, if you haven't done so, introduce yourself to those around your table, where you work or where you volunteer. And then I want to have you ask each other these two questions. What is one thing going really right for you right now in your organization or your business, or maybe your job with our city or wherever you work? And then what's one challenge that you're facing, that your organization is facing right now? And you've got about 5 minutes. Go.
Before we bring up our presenter for this morning, if one of you could take responsibility to do this, if you heard something around the table regarding a challenge or praise around the table, if you would do something, if you feel comfortable doing this, one of you just take the initiative to pray for that ministry or pray for that person and take their concern, their challenge, their request to the Lord. Would you do that? So if there's just one person around the table that would just take responsibility to say, I'll go ahead and pray for that, for you or somebody, and then we'll bring up Stan. Okay, could you do that for us? Thank you so much. Be right back. I'd like to introduce to you our brand new, not just a year, our CEO of Stanislaus County, Stan Risen. He and his wife Cheryl are longtime residents of the Modesto area, and he raised his family here, and he has shown himself over 27 years in county service, and I've known him for a long time when you had more hair, and when my hair was not so gray. He has led our county with, if you know him, with thoughtfulness, with humility, responsibility, and one thing that's been important as I watched him is integrity, and Stan surely has that. And by the way, yesterday was his birthday. Yeah. So I want to introduce to you our, he's in the back, he passed it to us. He's the one who told me. Yeah, he's the one who ratted you out. All right, thank you. You need a mic?
Yeah, can I have a mic? Well, good morning. Privileged to have a chance to be with you today, and actually excited about a chance to share a little bit of vision in my heart as it relates to the county. And I just want to say, first of all, I'm excited about the opportunity to lead the county. It's kind of interesting, the different paths that the Lord leads you on sometimes as you go through life. I didn't see myself here, and I think God had other plans, and so I'm embracing it and having a good time. But it's I'm really privileged to have a great board of supervisors. Who you work with from an elected capacity makes all the difference in the world. And so we have some great leaders. I know Supervisor Dick Monteith is here this morning, good leader on our board. Supervisor Terry Withrow, I think, was planning on making it. I don't see him. But we have also some great department heads. I was thinking through the other day, I wouldn't change out one of them. We just have tremendous department heads. We have Sheriff Adam Christensen from the county here today. We have our Public Health Information Officer, our Public Health Officer, Dr. John Walker. And then from my office, David Jones, who's my Ledge Affairs Public Information Officer in the back. We just have some great folks with the county, and I really consider it a privilege to work with them. And we're getting ready to do some exciting, good things. We've been in kind of a hunker down mode the last several years as we've tried to weather this great recession. We shed almost 1,000 positions, about 25% of our workforce. The sheriff will tell you he went from having over 156 deputies and sergeants on patrol to about 104 today. So tremendous hits throughout our organization. The good news is we're starting to see some positive signs of recovery. We're not back to where we were, but we're working our way back. And we're trying to re-engage our organization and our mission, vision, and values to become a county that's respected for its service in the community and known as the best in America. And I tell our folks, it really isn't about becoming the best county in America. It's about the journey of trying to get there and the journey of striving for excellence. And so we thank you for the opportunity that we can play, but I'm going to share a little bit of my heart with you this morning as it relates to the 7 sectors, because I don't know that, I do know that government's not going to be your answer. And after 27 years of government experience, we can be part of the answer, but we're not going to be the answer for the challenges facing our community. So in January, I got my department heads together. The county's like 26 different businesses, and so I actually have 27 department heads, something like that. And we got together and we did a little brainstorming on what are the top 6 issues facing our community. And not surprisingly, number 1 was water. We're in the midst of a 3-year drought, and our board is getting constant pressure to start weighing in on issues as it relates to water, groundwater, and when people's wells go dry, you know, we're getting, you've probably even seen it in some of the editorials, what's the county going to do about it? And it's been an arena that we haven't typically operated in, so we're running to come up to speed and figure out what is our proper role in being a facilitator and helping address the issues of water. Number 2 was youth early intervention, graduation rates, and literacy. Number 3 was land use, the whole tension between agriculture and development, city versus county. Number 4 was communities and families. Number 5 was economic disparity and dependency on aid. One of the things we've noticed in this Great Recession was that before the Great Recession, somebody in the 90th percentile of income in the San Francisco Bay Area made about 7.9 times what somebody in the bottom 10% medium income made. So if you were in the top 10%, you were making $79,000. If you were in the bottom 10%, it'd be like $10,000. That would be the ratio, $10,000 to $79,000, something like that. Coming out of the Great Recession, that gap has grown to over 17.4 times. So now that somebody in the 90% median bracket's making $174,000 compared to somebody that's making $10,000. And so the Great Recession, to be honest, the rich became rich and the poor became poor as a result of some of the dynamics that occurred there. And that has an impact on your community. And so that's what was identified as number 5. And consequently, the growing dependency on aid. And then number 6 was economic development and labor. And so I thought, well, you know what, we're going to go through each of these at our monthly department head meetings, and we're going to begin talking about them. And so we came in and we talked about water. And then we got down to number 2 and youth early intervention and community and family issues, and I got stuck, and we've never made it beyond that. All of our discussions have then faced upon those challenges facing our communities and families, and it became pretty clear what my vision and mission became all about, and where we needed to be headed as a county. And so that's what I want to share a little bit with you today. And so I got kind of 4 little points here I'm going to share with you, because years ago I used to be a youth pastor, and so you always got to have all your points kind of like a message, right? And number 1 is it's time we move beyond treating symptoms and start focusing on what we can do to treat the disease. Several years ago, Supervisor Withrow came new onto the board. He really had not had any government experience, and we'd be bringing an agenda item before him, and he said, doggone it, I just wish we could start spending money treating the disease rather than treating all the symptoms. And as we were getting ready to have the department head discussion on youth early intervention, graduation rates, and literacy, I was kind of thinking about, well, where should this discussion go? And I got thinking about our own county budget. We just went over $1 billion total budget in our 13-14 budget. And over 75% of that $1 billion goes to putting Band-Aids on the symptoms of a broken society. Over 75%. If you look at the mission of the sheriff who's sitting in the back of the room and what he has to do, the vast majority of what he does is having to treat symptoms of a broken society. You look at our district attorney, our public defender, you look at our social aid programs, over 75% of $1 billion budget in your community spent on putting Band-Aids and some positive prevention services, but mostly treating symptoms of a broken society. And so then I got coming across some fatherless statistics, and some of you have heard me share those out, and I'm not going to go over them today, but I can tell you statistically that 85% of the youth that are sitting in our juvenile institutions or in the sheriff's detention facilities, 85% of them came from fatherless homes. 63% youth suicides came from fatherless homes. And I realize that so much of what we're trying to address as a county is related to the breakdown in the family unit and the breakdown. And you know, somebody has said to me the other day, well, I hope we're not going on a war on fatherlessness. And you know, no, that's not what it's all about. There's no harder job in the world than being a single mom. None at all. And we got to figure out how to come alongside those single moms. But in the book Good to Great, it says one of the things you have to do if you're going to move your organization from good to great is you have to be willing to face the brutal facts. And I think if we're going to move our community along, we're going to have to come to grips with the brutal facts. And the brutal facts are that 85% of incarcerated youth come from fatherless homes. What are we going to do about that? We have, and you know what I've noticed is there are a lot of good, great programs out there. There really are, all over the place. All of you are involved in a lot of good programs, but I think one of the brutal facts is we're not winning the war. I can tell you that substance and alcohol abuse and mental health issues, for example, psychiatric inpatient admissions started to become a major challenge for our county budget to the tune of millions of dollars. So our board got proactive and we went out and built a new psychiatric health facility, 16-bed lock facility. But it's a sign that we're not making the gains that we need to be making. And so we're going to have to do something different if we want to get a different outcome, right? And that's what I'm here to share with you a little bit about today. And so I've been talking to the board, and for 2015, as a county, we are going to put a major focus on investing in prevention services. We're going to start asking ourselves, what should we be doing to treat the disease rather than putting Band-Aids on the symptoms? And I found as I began sharing it out that people are getting excited. And one of the scary parts is I'm kind of using my bully pulpit to get people excited about this, but I don't know exactly where it's going, right? The other day I was in a meeting with interim city manager Jim Holgerson over there. Jim, give everybody a wave. And we were talking about, he said, what are we going to do about our youth? And I said, let me tell you about where the county's going in 2015. And I was thrilled to hear his answer. He said, Stan, we may be interested in jumping on board with you on that. So yesterday at a city managers meeting, I got a chance to talk about prevention, and I was excited about some of the interests that seemed to peak with the city managers about maybe getting on board. And I thought, hey, wouldn't that be exciting? It was not just the county, but all 9 cities suddenly saying, we're going to focus on prevention. We're going to invest in prevention. But I'm here to tell you today, like I did earlier, my second point, government is not the answer. If we're going to make a difference, it's going to take all 7 pillars of society learning how to get together and row together and work on this. You know, for too long, we've expected government to be all things to all people and handle a lot of our social ills. And, you know, that's pretty much a 21st century phenomenon. But we were talking around the table, and Supervisor Monteith had a great comment. He said, you know, the one thing government can't do, it can't give you a hug. there's that whole personal human element, you know. We really are limited in what our focus should be. In fact, I had shared some fatherless statistics, and I was in a group of men. I meet every Thursday morning at 5:30 in the morning with 9 of the best guys in the world, and we've been meeting together for years. And I was sharing my heart for kind of prevention and sharing some fatherless statistics. And one of the guys said, you know, Stan, he said, I have 2 nieces that have had children born out of wedlock. And the fathers are around, but they are afraid to get too involved and too committed to these moms for fear they'll lose their public economic aid. And I thought, oh gosh, my organization is contributing to the problem. Now, that's not county's fault. I mean, we're just an arm of the state, and we're doing by law, you know, what the state and feds tell us to do. But we're almost incentivizing that father to stay out of the home. At the same time, I'm out sharing fatherless statistics. And so, you know, sometimes government is actually, I'm just being totally candid with you, can be part of the problem. And our first goal is going to be to try to figure out how to get out of the way. And our second goal, I think, that government can play is we can become a convener, because we interact with a lot of you. I know a lot of you here this morning, and it's because in our associations we've crossed paths, and Dr. Walker's crossed paths with you, and the sheriff's crossed paths. And so I'm starting to realize that maybe our role is helping be a convener and facilitator, but it's going to take the 7 pillars getting together and rowing in the same direction if we're really going to make a difference. And when I say the 7 pillars, if you're not familiar with them, that's our whole family-based focus, our faith-based sector, our business, our education, media, arts and entertainment, and government. Point number 3 that I had is how am I doing on time? 7-8 minutes. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Thank you, Marvin. My third point is if we're going to get where we need to go, we're going to have to learn to break down these silos that we operate in and really make a difference. You know, my wife and I were out kayaking on Pinecrest Lake the other day, and we decided to go across the lake. But I noticed her idea of going across the lake was different than my idea of going across the lake. And so we were actually rowing against each other, not in a, I was going that way, she was going that way. It was that she was going that way and I was going that way. And it's kind of like if you also get 2 people in a kayak and they're both rowing on the same side of the boat, what's going to happen? You're going to go in circles. And you know, I'm afraid that that's kind of an analogy of where we're at when it comes to our service delivery. I think a lot of people are doing a lot of great things. They're rowing hard, but they're all either rowing on the same side of the boat or they're rowing against each other because they're not talking. I was talking to somebody about homelessness the other day. Supervisor Withrow and Brad Hahn, former councilman, came to me and we were talking about how do we step up our efforts on homelessness. And so I was talking to a gentleman afterwards, and I said, how many homeless programs do you think we have in Stanislaus County? He said, well over 20. And he said, but let me share with you something. We have, you know, this definition of chronic homelessness. And we have this one program over here that provides short-term housing and provides skills-based training. And we have this program over here that provides more long-term stable housing. And the problem is, if you participate in this program over here, you no longer meet the definition of chronic homelessness, so you're not eligible for the long-term stable program. And so a lot of clients really belong in the long-term stable program, but the problem is they'll never survive in the long-term stable program if they don't get the skills training that's provided over in the short-term skills-based homeless program. And so we're working against each other and don't even realize it because those services are being provided by different agencies. And so I think one of the challenges we have is if we're really going to get serious about prevention, we've got to figure out how we get all 7 sectors together and talking You know, the other challenge with, to be quite honest, I'm going to give you brutal facts here, is you may be a nonprofit and you go get some money for a program over here and you hire somebody, and now you have a vested interest in making sure that person has a job, right? And that program continues. But it could be that money might be better leveraged than this nonprofit over here, but now we have a protective interest. And so somehow we got to figure out how to all get together, figure out where our gaps in services and needs are, and make sure that, like my wife and I crossing the lake, we're all rowing in the same direction. I'll leave you with one last thought, and then I'll turn it back over to Marvin. And that is, we've got to find a way to better engage our senior citizens and retiring boomers and keep them from checking out. And, you know, something hit me the other day. Within the next, so the tail end of the boomers is just turning 50. Within the next 3, 5, 10 years, we are going to have the largest volunteer pool in history retiring. What are we going to do about that? How are we going to keep them engaged? How are we going to help them find their passions? Chuck Bryan is in the back, and Chuck pulled me in years ago to a class on what was called halftime. How many of you are familiar with the halftime movement? Well, you need to talk to Chuck, because it's really an exciting thing, because halftime comes in and says basically to folks like me, how are you going to spend the second half of your life pursuing something that you're passionate about that'll make a difference? And it's all about helping people understand what is going to be your role in your post-career environment. And I'm still struggling with that, trying to figure out what that is for me. But I can tell you I'm very intrigued about the concept of parenting. It's kind of hit me that when my kids went to get a driver's license, they had to take 50 hours of behind-the-wheel training. They had to take a written test, and they had to take a driving test just to get a driver's license. But a 13-year-old can tomorrow go have a baby and not receive 1 ounce of parenting. In fact, maybe the only parenting skills they ever were taught came from some dysfunctional parent that they grew up out of. We have youth mentors. Where are our parent mentors? What are we doing to train parents so that we're not just raising generation after generation with the same kind of breakdowns and dysfunction? So suddenly I thought, well, what if we were to link up with the health-based community? Because probably the most impressionable time in anybody's parenting thing is when that baby is first born. And what if rather than a stick, we used a carrot and we provided some kind of incentive that if you pass 50 hours of parenting classes, and we would provide some incentive. I don't know what it is. We pay your copay at the hospital. We buy you a nursery. We put money in a college fund. I don't know. It'd be a cheap investment, though, if those parenting skills could play out in life. So that's a little bit about kind of where I'm wondering, hey, you know, maybe that's something. Because to me, a lot of the issues we're facing start with a breakdown in the family. And if we can get back to figuring out how to strengthen families, so that's where my heart is. But as the county heads down this prevention road, I realize that some of your passions are different. And so I'm thinking we'll probably divide into clusters, and we may have a homeless cluster, you know, and a homeless convening of those that are interested in prevention services for homeless, maybe another one for strengthening families, maybe another one for reducing recidivism. So anyway, a little bit of my heart, but the county, I think you're going to see as we head into 2015 a real strong focus on prevention services, and I'm hoping that many of you will join on board with us. So thank you. Some answers? Okay, I told Marvin he could use the last few minutes like he wanted. He said, Stan, do questions and answers. So why don't I see if you have any questions for me. Okay, Councilman Kenoyer back here, yeah?
As a retired person, I did find a passion. After 48 years as a nurse, I, went into political life. We were talking, and I always say this. There's so many of us that have so much talent that feel like, oh, I've worked all my life, why do I have to do anything else? But once you get involved, I'm, pushing 80, but the thing is, and there's a lot of talent out there, and we need to engage these people. We need to engage people like I do, that sit home and say, oh, I'm so bored, kind of, with my life. Well, get out, mentor, go, you have so much in your life that you can share with these young people, and realize how much fun it is to sit down with a child or with a mother that, we were talking about, that at the Redwood house. There's so much that we can do, and I think what we need to do is kind of almost shame the people in our age and say, get out and do something. Don't keep complaining about the problem. Help out there. Be part of it, and you'll realize that there's so much you can do.
Absolutely. Sandy.
What would you, 10 years down the road, you're looking back, what would you define as the ideal outcome of what you're looking forward to for this launching pad?
Well, my first answer is going to sound real strange to you being a government official, but I'd know we've reached some level of success if I could cut my budget from $1 billion to $500 million. But that means I got to be incarcerating less folks. I have to have less folks on public economic aid. I can't be paying $1,000 a day to have somebody locked up in an inpatient psych center. It's got to start with community transformation, and my own personal belief is it's got to start with the family. And so when we see strong families, that's when we'll start making a difference. But I'd love to see our budget cut in half, because we don't need it. Not because I want it cut because of any other reason, but because we don't need it. Curtis. Yeah, thank you, Curtis. That's a great comment. Sometimes I have people ask me, well, what can we do to come alongside and help you? And part of it is concern, because if you heard part of what I said is government's not going to be your answer. And the real tools are you that are experts out in the field that you're working in. So if you're in the center of homelessness, to me, it's getting everybody that has a passion and heart for homelessness together with, and maybe government plays a role as a convener. And then you do a gap analysis, and you also do a best practices analysis, which is what Curtis is saying. And you go out and find out what are those best practices when it comes to homelessness. But it's not me doing it out of the 6th floor. It's that, I call them passion groups, that passion group about homeless who are really the experts. Because if you send me out to look at a homeless program, I'm going to say, yeah, that looks cool. You send Kevin out, who's down the gospel mission, he may view it a totally different way because they're not addressing pets or whatever. And so this isn't about me, folks, and it's not about county, because government's not going to be your answer. It's going to be, how do we get the right people together who have that passion and heart, and how do we determine where our gaps are, where our needs are, and what are those best practices out there? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Teresa with Congressman Jeff Denham's office.
Yeah, hi, Teresa.
Hello. I also teach at Modesto Junior College, and I had a discussion with my students in discussing the safety net, and it's really interesting because exactly what you're saying is what I was sharing with my students as far as the safety net and how we can possibly change that, bringing up fatherless children, and how we can meet the need of the fathers to re-engage with their children regardless of the finances. And I wanted to know if you have engaged the colleges, MJC and or Stanislaus State, in that discussion, because I think as the instructors or possibly even the administration or the counseling services, perhaps they may be able to assist in that endeavor as well.
So the answer is I personally haven't yet. This is an evolving arena. It started back in January with our department heads identifying the top 6 community issues, and then several months later, I got impressed about the fact that this is a journey we need to head down, and now I'm kind of using my bully pulpit to get out there and try to get people excited, but I haven't hit all 7 sectors yet. So, but I think at the end of the day, it's important that all 7 sectors, including education, be at the table and have a vital role in this. I have met with Tom Chignon, shared a little bit of the vision, but it was early on and, well, it's still kind of developing. So you're absolutely right, though. We got to figure out how to engage all 7 sectors.
I'll be very quick, but I'm Christina Kenny with the Empowerment Center, and I'm a contracted program for BHRS, Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. And just from the beginning of my professional career since 2008 with mental health, of course, a lot of that prior to that was the unprofessional part, just lived experience. But the conversations are happening. There's a lot of subgroups and subcommittees that are convening and meeting outside of forums like this and getting a movement started. So what was going on back in 2008, 2009 was a very subtle feel, but in Stanislaus County compared to other places, because we've been down to San Diego, Sacramento, and a few other places checking out how they're doing things, Stanislaus County by far stands alone in conversations that are not afraid to be had. And Catalyst Modesto has just kind of concreted that for me as a personal experience, seeing that there are so many folks creating a movement that before we know it, it's going to start changing lives more effectively than it has in the past.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments. And I will tell you, our behavioral health and recovery services, which deals a lot with our substance and drug and alcohol type of issues, I just spent some time with them Tuesday and went out, and we actually have a prevention and early intervention whole wing division of our behavioral health and recovery services. So they are already kind of getting out and probably one of the county leaders when it comes to this whole prevention concept. So it's been a privilege to meet with you today, and thank you for your time.
Good job, Stan. Thank you so much. I was thinking, Stan, you are quite comfortable on the platform. He's been a member here for over 20 years, and so he's quite comfortable. You're right. There is a movement that's growing with all of us, conversations that are happening. I've met with quite a few of you, had lunch with Stan a week ago, and had some conversations about this whole topic. But there's some things I'm learning that as we're rowing together, there's some things that I'm learning and paying attention to in our community that I just want us to be aware of. Let's try and get to rowing together here. First of all, the doors are open to go talk to your county government leaders, community leaders. I want to encourage you to go with a listening and learning attitude. There have been many times when people go and it's a critical, they really ask a question, but they really want to tell you what they think. And I want to encourage us, all of us, as we're rowing together, to go with the listening attitude, to listening and to learning spirit with them. And then the next thing is that go with curiosity, not criticism. Go with asking questions, not ready to criticize and bite people's head off. We live in a community, we've operated in a community for a long time that is quick to react. And I want to encourage all of us in this room are quite positive people, very positive. Go with curiosity rather than criticism. I've sat with some of you, and Jenny would know, and I sat down with Jen, and I've sat down with Hugo. We sit down and we ask the questions and with curiosity. And you can go deep with the questions, but go with curiosity rather than criticism. Rowing together also is about asking, how can I join you? How can I partner with you? And the days of operating in silos, of operating with our own things and wanting to be the big shark in the tank are really over. And learning now how to operate together and to serve together, rowing together. And so go asking the question, how can we partner together? How can I serve you? How can I work alongside you? And to discover common ground. I met with somebody a couple of weeks ago that we surely have some opposite opinions about some things. And this lady wanted to jump right in and get right at me. And I said, wait. I reached across the table and I touched her hand and I said, please, we don't have the trust and relationship to have that kind of conversation on that topic. So I'll tell you what, could we please, let's not go there. Let's focus on what we have in common. Let's find those things that we can know how to work together on. And then when we can grow and trust each other, then let's come back and have that conversation about our differences. And it was interesting how, with that tone of voice, and she backed way off. We had a great conversation about what we have in common. But I want to encourage all of us as we row together to, how can I join together with you? How can I partner with you? How can we can find common ground together, because we surely all love our county and the people that are here. Another thing as I'm learning is how can I strengthen you so you accomplish what you want? And so when I meet with people, that's one of the questions. How can I help you be successful? How can I take what I have and who I am and help you be successful in the mission that you want to accomplish? And as I talked with Stan a couple of weeks ago, Jeff and I got together with him at Greens just to have that conversation. How can we partner alongside you and help you be successful in what you do? And those conversations really open up a lot of doors for you. And finally, I want to encourage you not to make promises that you can't keep. I'm a people pleaser. I love to make people happy, but I'm learning that I can only make promises. If I make a promise, I have to keep it. So be really wise in promises. Oh, I can do that. I can take over this whole fatherlessness system. We'll solve it in a year. So make promises. Only make the promises that you can keep, because people will hold you to them. And I've discovered that when I make promises I can't keep, what happens, it just begins to erode my integrity. And people begin to say, oh, Marvin, he just makes promises he can't keep, and don't hold him to it. So I know when I make a promise, I surely want to hold on it and do that. So rowing together. And that's a phrase that Stan has mentioned to me a couple of times, and we want to continue to do together. Next week, let me start over. Next month, Dr. John will be with us on the county situation, the health situation in our county, and how we can work together to help people be well and healthy, not only physically, but I'm assuming emotionally and spiritually in all kinds of different ways. And Dr. John, who you all know, will be with us and be with us next month. By the way, too, they are putting a new air conditioner on the top of this building. And there are a bunch of you who have parked right here in this parking lot. As soon as you can, if you can move your car, even move it out of the way, or when you leave, we don't want to mess up your relationship time, because this is the most important time. But I want to encourage you to move your car as soon as you can. Stan will be with the pastors today at lunch, and so if you can text your pastor and say, hey, get to lunch at Chevy's at 11:30, it's for the pastors only, and get them there so we can all begin to row together. All right, thank you so much. You have a good morning. Take your time and introduce each other, talk with each other. It's 8:10, as we promised. You have a good morning.